Hey guys, this is Vasyl from the BDAN CPAs, and today I would like to talk about 2024 being a leap year and the main themes I see in this year. So first of all, it's very cool that it's the leap year, so I wrote on top 2024 is a leap year. And then you see a really cool thing from the accounting perspective is that Luca Pacioli, a Franciscan friar from Tuscany and a mathematician, in 1494 wrote a book called Summa Arithmetica Geometria Proportionis y Proportionalita. And in that book he established the fundamental technology called double entry bookkeeping system for debits and credits. There is a lot of talk about AI right now, and it's a great tool. It's a really great tool. I love using it. It helps do 80% of work in some cases, so I love it. At the same time, I think sometimes we forget much older technology, such as Luca Pacioli's double entry bookkeeping system that he came up with in 1494. That means that in 2024, in November, because he wrote that book, the translation of the book is the sum of arithmetics, geometry, proportions, and proportionality. And he was associated with Leonardo da Vinci. We know Leonardo da Vinci's Vesuvian Man, really showing great proportions, the way that human body is pictured in that painting with great proportions, and we get the concept of proportionality, and we use the concept in medicine, making sure that treatment is proportionate to the disease and we don't do more damage than good. We use that in law when we ensure that the punishment is commensurate to crime. We have it in accounting, where each debit must have a credit, and we have it on the metaphysical level, where for each action there is a counteraction. So it's proportionality is very fundamental principle. So no wonder he involved the concept of proportionality in his book. So anyway, it's around date 530 years this November of this fundamental technology of accounting, double entry bookkeeping. Then I wrote number two is like New York City is celebrating 400 years because it was established in 1624. So in the East Coast, it's one of the oldest cities because so here in the Northeast, in the biggest port in the South is Charleston, and that one goes to 1670, so slightly younger than New York City. But overall, New York City is one of the oldest ports in the United States, and it's roughly peer of Kharkiv, or internationally known as Kharkiv. Unfortunately, it was bombed, and the missiles. Perhaps you saw in the news what that aggressive Russian bully is doing in Ukraine, and all that attack in Kharkiv. But anyway, New York City is a peer of Kharkiv, which was established in 1650 in eastern Ukraine. The third one I wrote, my grandfather. 2024 marks 100 years of my grandfather, and you probably saw the videos where I am with the wooden ladle. And I was explaining that chochla in Polish means a scoop or wooden scoop or ladle. So the grandfather chochla was born in 1924. So this year marks 100 years of his birth. And then look here, I wrote Freddy. So that's my son Freddy. He'll be 2 years old. So that's another cool thing that you can. It's amazing to see how the human being is developing. By leaps and bounds, especially in the early stages, and so curious, full of energy, and it's a great concept of human development and growth. It's just fascinating to see all of that. And you may be thinking, what is this jumbled mess over here on the right? Like, what do you mean all that, vasyl? So, interesting thing that Luca Pacioli was from Tuscany in Italy, from the town called San Sepolcro. And you may be asking, what's so special about it, some town of San Sepolcro in Tuscany? Well, this town also birthed such great painters as Piero della Francesca, Raffaellino del Calle, and Raffaellino was the pupil of the painter Raphael. And then Matteo di Giovanni, Santi di Tito, e Angelo Trica. So you have these great painters coming from there. And then you consider that Luca Pacioli was the associate of Leonardo da Vinci, that among da Vinci was a polymath, but among other things he was a painter. And we talk about Vesuvian man and how proportional it is. And it really makes sense for Luca Pacioli to talk about proportionality and proportions, given that he grew up with all these painters who really observe proportions in their painting. And so it's interesting correlation there. But then what do I want to say with all of these painters from San Sepolcro? Well, that brings us to Bob Ross, American painter, and his big program was The Joy of Painting. And he firmly believed that anybody can paint if he is taught right with the right technique. So here at the BDAN CPAs, we believe that anybody can learn fundamental accounting. It doesn't mean that business owners need to be accountants, but they can learn enough accounting to feel comfortable monitoring their business, keep their finger on the pulse of their business. So the same way as Bob Ross was encouraging everybody to paint, that anybody can learn painting, and he called it the joy of painting, likewise, we call it the joy of accounting and say that anybody with the right technique that we use called color accounting, anybody can master accounting at a sufficient level to be comfortable in running his business. Then getting to number 4, it's Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act, 1964. So it will be marking its 60th anniversary. What is Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act? Well, it prohibits discrimination on one of the so-called protected grounds, be it race, religion, sex, or any of these protected grounds. So it's another hallmark in 2024, another anniversary. Then 2 years of emphasis on strategic tax planning. What do I mean by that? Well, the tax reform came about in the beginning of 2018, but it's set to expire at the end. But the key provisions of the tax reform are set to expire by the end of 2025, and among them is the state exemption. Right now, it's like 13.9 million per couple. But it's going back to roughly 5.5 million per couple. So it's going to be totally different ball game, and some other key provisions such as 20% flow through pass-through deduction for the flow-through entities such as sole proprietors, partnerships, S corporations. That 20% flow-through qualified business income deduction is going away too, unless the act of Congress will change it. But tentatively, we're talking about 2024 and 2025 being crucial years for strategic tax planning. So that's the opportunity to really take advantage of the favorable provisions before they expire. Then Mariia and I see the spike in SBA audits. Remember all those loans that businesses took, PPP loans, IDA loans, RRF grants for the restaurants? Well, now it's, for example, the RRF grant, Restaurant Revitalization Fund. The restaurants that received it, it was in May 2021 or June, in that time frame. 3 years later, the SBA, Small Business Administration, is auditing these entities, and some people didn't really keep up with the loans. So now there are these audits, and it requires professional expertise to settle. So Maria and I are seeing this spike in these SBA audits, and the need for SBA representation and support. We work together as a team. She is a lawyer and me as a CPA, working together on helping solve the cases of this nature. Then number 7, solar eclipse, and it's just very recent. And you see I put it as number 7. And the reason I put it as number 7, because sometimes we have recency bias, and it just happened recently. We want to talk about it right away, but I purposely put it as number 7 in order to deal with the recency bias and not to talk about that right away just because it happened recently and it's on the mind. But anyway, it was like pretty cool. Some people said, oh, it wasn't as impressive as we thought, and maybe that's because that the last one happened in 2022, just 2 years ago. But the next one that NASA is predicting won't happen until 2044, or 20 years from now, in the United States. Of course, it will happen in other parts of the globe, but it was pretty cool phenomenon too. And number 8, it's Duke University celebrates 100 years, but that's not from Trinity School, but that's when it was renamed after James Buchanan Duke. That happened in 1924, and we know Duke is usually in the top 7 universities, and is celebrating 100 years this year. And then all the way, and then you see here to the side I wrote complexity, change, and conflict. We have complexity and change leading to conflict. So, for example, in the tax space, in the tax resolution space, when taxpayers take a certain position and the IRS may be disagreeing with that position, so there is a conflict that needs to be settled, that needs to be solved. And that's one of the functions of Achieve Tax Relief, my other entity that is specifically dedicated to solving tax disputes for the clients, helping clients go through the change and complexity in the evolving tax landscapes, in the evolving landscape for that specific taxpayer, be it corporate or individual. And all the way at the end, I wrote Barber's experience. And one may wonder, what does Barber experience have to do with all of that? Well, I had like very cool conversation with my barber, and he was telling me a story that he has a Crohn's disease, and because of the medicine that was prescribed for his Crohn's disease, it influenced his hips, it deteriorated his hips, and it led to the need of hip replacement. So he got one of the hip replacement, but the surgeon did it slightly higher. And you know why he positioned that hip slightly higher than usual? Because he was anticipating that a few years from then the guy will need the second hip replacement. And if he does it lower, then when he does the second hip replacement, then there will be oscillation going on. But if he does it higher and then the second hip replacement gets installed, then it will drop a little lower and it will be balanced. Now again, we're talking about proportionality, we're talking about the balancing act. And it was, I thought, wow, what an amazing foresight on the part of that surgeon. And it made me think about proactive tax planning. We were talking about 2024 and 2025 being crucial years for tax planning to really take advantage of the expiring sunsetting provisions. So if we exercise foresight, then it can be a leap year, this one, and keeping that momentum in 2025 in order to take advantage of those expiring tax provisions, or dealing with the audits. So whatever it is, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in my gut that it's gonna be a great year. It's gonna be a leap year. And I hope that you will take action on whatever problem you're dealing with. You take action on that, you solve it, and the 2024 will be a true leap year for you. And you will find that source of nectar like bees do in the cross-pollination, and you will find that solution. It's great discussing the leap year with you, and if you enjoyed this topic, please comment, write what topics you will be interested in. Please subscribe, and great to be here with you, and all the best greetings from the BDAN CPAs. Stay well and make it a leap year for yourselves.
Thanks.